Hey guys, welcome to Jeff's Adventures, and here I am in Clear Lake, Iowa, and we are checking out today the site of part of the site of the day the music died. This is the legendary Surf Ballroom. It's been here since 1948, and it's probably best known as being the last place that Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper ever performed. Here's a monument that's outside, dedicated to the memory of those three, along with the pilot Roger Peterson, who we'll talk about more in a little bit. It's cool that places like this still exist. But it is open. We can go in and take a look. So let's go do that. Old ticket window, that's pretty cool. Now, being that this is called the Surf Ballroom, a lot of things in here kind of remind you of the beach, the ocean. There's a lot of palm trees. There's pineapples inside on the wallpaper. But pretty cool place, and it really doesn't seem to have changed hardly at all since the that famous night. So I'll take you in and show you around a little bit. Now here's the ballroom right in front of me. Now, this was the Winter Dance Party tour in 1959 with Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper. Now, if you guys came here from my other channel, I did a more comprehensive video on there, but this is for this channel, so this is a little bit different video. Now, the Winter Dance Party, Buddy Holly did not want to go on this tour. It was a winter tour through the Midwest, and it crisscrossed and went in all kinds of different directions. They had a tour bus that was frozen solid. The heater did not work on it, and it broke down about every other day. These guys were absolutely miserable, and the night of this show, Buddy Holly decided that he was going to charter a plane. He only had seats for 2 people, and it was going to be his guitarist Tommy Allsup and Waylon Jennings. Now, Waylon Jennings gave up his seat to the Big Bopper because he had the flu, and Ritchie Valens was coming down with the flu also, so he had a coin toss with Tommy Allsup, which Tommy lost, and Ritchie Valens got the 3rd seat on the plane. Now, I'll tell you about that a little more in just a bit, but this is the famous stage, and I'll take you up on there in just a second, but this is the actual spot where Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper all performed their final show. Now, at the time this show happened, Ritchie Valens was only 17 years old, but Buddy Holly was 22, and the Big Bopper was, I think, 26 or 27, but all very young guys at the prime of their career, and they all made their own mark on the music industry. Now, this is the side part of the stage. Now, this place is very, very quiet, and like I said, it really hasn't changed hardly at all, but it's really cool to be in here because, I mean, this is where history happened, and you can feel it in here. It's just amazing to be here. This is the doorway right here where Ritchie Valens lost that famous coin toss. So he didn't know it at the time, but his fate was sealed right here in this doorway, which is, I mean, it's kind of surreal to be here and see this. Now, this is pretty cool. This is it's not the coin that was used in the coin toss, but it was donated by Tommy Allsup, part of his collection. This would have been the same type of coin that was used that night, and right in the location where this coin toss happened. How cool is this? Now, if you guys saw the video on the other channel, I apologize if some of this is a little bit redundant, but I just thought that this was too good to not share on this channel also. ZZ Top. We have Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, and pretty much everybody you can think of has signed between the doors, the walls on the inside. Now, this is the dressing room that artists still use today, but this is the sink that Buddy Holly did his laundry in, and he hung them up right here on these hooks. Just fascinating to think. You know, and these guys obviously had no idea what was going to happen or that this was going to be their last show, but this is where they spent their final hours. And this right here, this is the walkway to get on stage. It's just on the other side of this wall. So as you can see, it's a very small venue. It's a small place, but everybody wants to play here just because of the history of it. This door here probably would have been where Buddy Holly and them left that night. Now, do you want to retrace the steps that Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper would have taken on stage for their final time? I think we should. They went right up these stairs here, through this curtain, and there would have been over 1,500 people, I believe, that night. The back part is the original stage. The darker part, the more matte colored part, is the original stage. This part was added on later. You know, that helps for the modern bands, but the original spot where Buddy stood was right here. And he would have looked out at this exact view, minus the front stage. So imagine, you know, 1,500 or so people out here screaming for you, and you know, it's completely quiet today, so a completely different vibe, but this is pretty much what he would have seen for his final performance, which is, you know, it's pretty surreal, and it's awesome that this place is still here, and it really hasn't changed much, which I think is really cool. In being here, you also kind of forget that these are not the only guys that have performed here. I mean, the Beach Boys performed here even back in the 1960s, if you really think about how long this place has been here. It was built in 1948, and since then, you know, a lot of these guys have signed this wall, and there's just about anyone you can think of on here. You know, you got Willie Nelson, there was Waylon Jennings obviously was here that night and been here several times since then. But just looking out on this place and thinking of the history that happened here is just, it's just awesome. If you guys ever get a chance to stop and visit here, I highly recommend it. They do have it open to go through a majority of the time. Otherwise, just reach out to the Surf Ballroom. The people here are very, very nice and extremely knowledgeable about things that have happened here over the years. So I can't recommend this place enough. But just being able to walk out on this stage is just a feeling that's hard to explain. Now, as I mentioned before, it doesn't look like much stuff has changed over the years. I know they did some repairs on the roof a few years back, but as far as everything else, these benches and the booths and all that do appear original. Pretty much everything here, it's got that old vibe to it. It feels like you're just walking right back into the 50s or 60s. I mean, this place is just, it's so cool to be here. You know, it's strange to think, too, that for Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper, it was in here that they spent their final hours. You know, they chartered that infamous plane, and then it went down just 5 miles away from where we're at now. And, you know, it kind of makes you wonder, but they couldn't have possibly known what was going on that night. And I'm going to show you a couple more things when we leave the ballroom here that are out in front, and a couple other interesting things that I saw. But just sad all around. And it's not just those three guys. The pilot, Roger Peterson, that was piloting that plane was only 21 years old, and he perished in there also. Now, I think this is one of the coolest and craziest things here. Before they left, Buddy Holly and Ritchie Valens both used this phone. Buddy Holly used it to call his wife, and he never told her that they were chartering a plane. She was afraid of him flying and had a bad, I guess you could say, premonition, bad dreams, nightmares about something bad happening to Buddy on this tour. So he did not tell her that they chartered a plane. She thought that they were driving back up to Minnesota in that bus. And Ritchie Valens called his manager here also. He was sick, and his manager was trying to talk him into leaving the tour. And Ritchie did not want to do that. You know, he liked being on the road. He liked being a performer, and he didn't want to let anybody down. So he continued with the tour. But just think, this is where their final phone calls were made, not knowing the fate that awaited them. It's just amazing that they've preserved this. And they have a plaque here from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There are a few buildings in existence today that represent a complete shift in our musical history. As the last concert venue for Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and JP the Big Bopper Richardson, the Surf is the bedrock of where the sound and attitude of rock and roll changed forever. And they have pictures of those guys performing on the wall right here. And this is one of the old pianos that was used by a lot of artists here, including Duke Ellington, who had said that he signed on the underside of the top board of this piano. That is pretty cool. Now, places like this are really cool, and if you guys are new to this channel or haven't seen my other channel, Frizel Productions, I love coming to places like this. I love the history. I love music. I love Hollywood. Some of the places that have a little bit more tragic ties to them, last places people visited, famous grave sites, all that kind of stuff. I just find it fascinating. And here's a couple signatures. This is the Big Bopper, Buddy Holly, and Ritchie Valens. This is just awesome. So that's a pretty good look at the Surf Ballroom. I really hope you guys enjoyed this this tour here. And if you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to take you guys to a lot of really cool places. We're going to go over interesting stories, and there's going to be all kinds of cool stuff coming up on this channel. We're just getting started, but thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope all is well. Take care, everybody.